Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Torres, and I welcome you to this week's edition of the Back Nine Report. Every week, my co-host Fred Altvater and I get together and checking on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, reviews. Hey, we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, we have it for you. Fred, you were not with us last week, so we have to thank Kieran Clark for filling in for you. We had a long talk last week, as usual, with Kieran, But hey, we know you were having a good time, so tell us a little bit about that, and welcome again to the show this week.
Yeah, Carlos, I did. I had the opportunity to go over to Firestone for 3 days, and they're doing this new stay and play thing. So they're kind of opening up to the public a little bit. It's been private, since the beginning back in 1929, and they have 3 golf courses there. A lot of people don't realize that. Everybody thinks about the South Course, which has held 68 PGA Tour events there. Several majors, the WGCs. Now they're having the Senior Tour players, the Champions Tour players there. So that's all been on the South Course. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's outstanding. But there's 2 other golf courses there, the North Course, which is across the street, and the West Course, which is a Tom Fazio design, is absolutely gorgeous. There isn't a loser on that golf course. There's 18 fantastic holes there. Matter of fact, the membership plays the West Course and the North Course about 3-1 over the South Course. The South Course is great and it's historic and it's wonderful, but for the average golfer, the North Course and the West Course are a little more fun to play. There's a little more diversity there. So the accommodations are outstanding there. The food is off the charts. So really enjoyed my time at Firestone last week, and sorry I couldn't be here last Tuesday, but I was busy eating it was about a full pound Delmonico. It was tough duty. I had to choke that baby down. I couldn't get it all down. I even tried to wash it down with some good wine, but it just, I had to leave. So it was too bad. There was enough for you and me and carrying all 3, actually, to be honest with you. But Firestone's outstanding. I want to urge anybody out there that would like to play those, the iconic South Course and the two other courses that are there. Go to Firestone, check in on their stay and play option there. You won't regret it. It's pretty cool, Carlos.
All right, and we're going to talk a little bit about something that's going to happen there pretty soon on the Par 5 News. But hey, let's start right away with the weekend backspin, where every week you and I recap all the weekend's action on the major tours. And talking about major, Sei Young Kim is finally a major winner. I mean, she won the KPMG PGA Women's Championship in runaway fashion at Aronimink Golf Club in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. At the Philly Area Club, Kim won by 5 shots over Inbay Park, earning her 11th LPGA Tour title with a 5-shot win on 14 under.
I thought Inbay Park retired or something. Did she quit playing or something? What's going on? Every time I see her name, she's a top 5 somewhere. I thought she quit.
No, she's playing as hot as usual, and but she had to contend. She was denied by Sei Young Kim, who closed with a 63, pull away from the field. So Nasa Hataoka and Carlota Ciganda finishing a tie for 3rd place, 7 under. In the end, only 8 players in the field finished on the par. Anna Nordqvist in solo 5th, Brooke Henderson in solo 6th, and Charlie Hall and Jennifer Kupcho in a tie for 7th were the only other players on their par. It seems like just a little while ago, 5 years ago, Inbay Park defeated then rookie Kim here in this tournament. Park won her 6th major that day, and Kim, the runner-up, she got a taste of what it means to be on the top of the leaderboards that time. But this weekend, it was Kim who won, and she won the $45,000 winner's share of the $4.3 million purse, becomes the latest first-time major winner on the LPGA. Fred, this season, both Germany's Sofia Popov and South Korea's Miriam Lee found first-time major wins at the British Open and the A&A Inspiration, respectively. And, with 2020 showing us a new norm in life, I guess it should be no surprise that the first-time major winners have become more normalized on tour.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it? It's kind of a crazy year, and I'm, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking the younger players are a little more hungry and they practiced more and they were ready to go when they came out. And some of the older players, they were a little more stable, a little more financially okay. And so maybe they hung out with their families and did other stuff. They kind of relished the time away from golf probably. And when they came back, these younger players maybe are a little more ready to go. But then you look there and, you know, we still got Inbee Park at the top. You got Anna Norquist, who just played poorly on Sunday. She played good Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, just didn't play quite as good on Sunday. Brooke Henderson, she really fell down on Sunday as well. Charlie Hall had a really good tournament. And then Jennifer Kupcho, I'm telling you, between her and Maria Fassi, we keep calling those names. They're going to be big players here real soon, Carlos, as we both know. First place check, $645,000. That's pretty nice. Seeing how the normal first place check on the LPGA Tour is around 250,000. That's almost 3 times, not quite, about 2.5 times what a normal check would be. So this is truly a major event for the women. Aronimik looked great. Kerry Haig did it again. I mean, he is just like, he is the master. The USGA, the PGA Tour, they should all hire this guy to do the setups every week. He never misses. He is perfect. Did you see the two-stroke? I know you're going to love this, right? The two-stroke slow pay penalty on Spilkova that she got on, what was it, Friday. She ends up missing the cut. The conditions were tough. It was very windy. The greens were a lot of undulation. It was tough to putt. So it was taking a long time. And they issued a two-stroke penalty. That doesn't happen very often. So they're saying, girls, let's go. Let's move it along here. Nelly Korda had to withdraw with back issues. And then the young girl, number 712 in the world, I'm going to let you say this, Pagdanganan, something like that. She had a T9, first tournament, 84K. Nice start for her. So those were the high points for me, Carlos, from the KPMG.
And definitely, I mean, Sei Young Kim, finally she gets that first win. She had been knocking on several majors several times, and finally, I mean, that talent that she has finally got it together, and she was no match for everybody else. She ran away with this title. Inbee Park still playing really, really well. I wouldn't be surprised to see how she finishes this year, and maybe, hey, she can be the player of the year this year. She's that close. Danielle Kang, I mean, that leaderboard the whole weekend was, that top 10 was like moving up and down all the time until it was Sei Young Kim who took the lead after the second round with those birdieing 5 out of her last 6. And that's really when she started to set her up. And congratulations to her. She's a really good player. But it also shows, like we were saying, this past 2 years, the LPGA, we remember that when Lydia Cole and Brooke Henderson came out, Lexi Thompson, there was this youth movement, and the under 20s or the early 20s were taking over. But now it's like a resurgence of the veteran players that is taking over. So it tells you that anything, the diversity of the LPGA, age-wise, international players, local players, it's incredible. The LPGA is a great product, and that's why you don't know what's going to happen week in and week out. So, okay.
Yeah, I got to watch. I watched a little bit of Sei Young Kim over the back 9 on Sunday, and her iron play was outstanding. She was just striping it at the pins. Yeah, and she was just setting her up for very makeable birdie putts, and then she was knocking them down. But it was her iron play that was really impressive. She was on. She was not backing down, and when she could have played safe those last couple holes, she was still firing at pins. So good for her. Hey, Carlos, too, we want to mention real quick that during the KPMG, they recognized the Women's PGA Professional Player of the Year award, and that went to Joanna Coe. Coe had a pretty good year for a club pro. She won the 2019 PGA Women's Stroke Play Championship. She was 1 of 4. women to play in the PGA Professional Championship. She also finished T5 in the LPGA Teaching and Club Professional National Championship. She played in both the 2019 and 20 KPMG Women's PGA Championship. So she's had a great year, very deserving of this award. She's the top LPGA teaching pro, PGA Women's Teaching Pro this year, awarded by the PGA, Carlos.
All right, a very deserving, definitely great season for her. Now let's move on to the other side of the pond, where Tyrell Hatton earned arguably, has to be arguably, his biggest victory of his career so far at Wentworth Club in Virginia Water, England. He even said it was a dream come true for him. What he won? Well, he won the BMW PGA Championship over Stellar Field, and the BMW PGA Championship is the flagship tournament on the European Tour. He blew away the field to win the European Tour's flagship event by 4 shots over Frenchman Victor Perez, finishing on 19 under. Patrick Reed and Andy Sullivan finishing a tie for third, a shot behind Perez. Ian Poulter rounded up the top 5 finishers. Eddie Pepperell finishing solo sixth with Matt Fitzpatrick, Joaquim Hansen, and Renato Paratore in a tie for seventh. Fred, Hatton won the $974,457 winner's share of the $7 million purse. But really, it's incredible that when we have to look back at his stunning Wentworth win, it was his hooded jumper that was one of the biggest talking points. Uh, he isn't the first professional golfer to wear a hoodie during a tournament, but his victory, while wearing one of those hoodies seemed to usher a widespread acceptance now of that piece of clothing. I mean, it's even the biggest seller right now in England, to the point that Wearside Golf Club there in England doubled down on its no hoodies policy. Perhaps they're anticipating an uptick in the garments. They were seeing the sales right now. So they sent a message to their membership. No hoodies allowed. So don't even try it. Don't think about it. So Fred, I ask you whether hoodies are acceptable, an acceptable golf attire after Tyrell's win, have brought them into prominence. What you think about that?
Well, I think Mike Davis, is one of his last acts in the USGA, should probably try to get hoodies banned. If you're wearing that hoodie and you're making your stroke, that could be seen as a help, a performance enhancing addition, kind of keeping that head straight, just kind of like the anchored putter. We probably can't have that kind of stuff. So maybe Mike Davis should look into this, and the R&A, maybe they can make some ruling before the end of next year when he gets out of there. But hey, Carlos, the thing that I got from this, number one, is Patrick Reed was T3. He actually got praised from the British press for flying over and playing in this, and he currently leads the race to Dubai still. So he's maintaining his European Tour presence there. Also, if you notice, did you look at that leaderboard with those names down there, those first 20 or so? You're not seeing the name Catalan or Quetzi or Rye or some of these other guys that have been winning. No, they were down there at the bottom down there. They were MC or, just barely made the cut or something. So you had the quality, the cream rose to the top over there at the BMW PGA this week. So when they get the big names over there, these other guys fall by the wayside a little bit. They're not quite ready for prime time yet, Carlos.
But it's their time to continue to play and get ready for them. But anyway, now let's get back to the side of the pond and the PGA Tour, where Martin Laird, a Scotsman, he prevailed in a 3-man playoff at the TPC Summerlin near Las Vegas, Nevada, to win the Shriners Hospitals for Children's Hospitals Open. Laird defeated Matthew Wolff and Austin Cook on the second hole of a sudden death playoff when he made a birdie from 15 feet to lock up his first PGA Tour title since 2013, and the second win in this event after his breakthrough in 2009. All three players finished regulation tied at 23 under after Martin bogey that final hole of regulation to force the overtime. Now, this win is sort of a redemption win because he also won in a playoff here in 20. He didn't win. He was also in a playoff here in 2010 when Jonathan Bird made a hole in one at the 17 to win.
In the
Now,
in
now,
the dark, he made the hole in one.
yeah, and now Martin. I don't know if you saw him, but he eagled the ninth on Sunday after what I have to say that must be one of the shots of the year, if not the shot of the year. I'm gonna vote for it because his ball was. If you haven't seen it, see it again. I mean, you're gonna see it everywhere. Just Google it. His ball was plugged up against the face of the bunker on the par five, and he held it to go too clear. To me, that was impossible to make until he made it. Before that, you would have asked me that's impossible to make that shot. And a lot of people would say were saying the same thing. But anyway, Laird was only in this event thanks to a sponsor's exemption, and he now has his job secure for another 2 years. Fred, he won the $1.26 million winner's share of the $7 million purse, and now he moves up to 88th in the world as the top-ranked Scottish man.
Yeah, he's been a pretty decent player for a long time. He won this event in 2009 and then was in that playoff in 2010 with Bird and Cameron Percy, and Bird knocks it in. I remember seeing that. I remember it today. I can't believe that was 10 years ago. I remember him hitting that shot and it going in. They couldn't even see it back on the tee. They had no clue. They had to tell him from the green that it went in. And the player was over. The other two players are going, is that all there is? Okay, all right. So Bird kind of gets a redemption here, wins this event for the second time, and 10 years later, he wins the playoff against two other guys. So, the low scoring, oh my goodness, low scoring, the lowest 36-hole cut in PGA Tour history. You've got Fowler. Ricky Fowler had issues. He's doing some swing changes, I guess. He's not quite. He's just a little bit erratic with that. Hit it in the water. He missed a cut along with Colin Morikawa, Hideki Matsuyama, Jason Day, Francisco Molinari, 70-68. They all failed to make the weekend, Carlos. DeChambeau started fast, had a 62 in the first round, thought he was going to light it up, but no, he faded. Tony Finau, this is only the third player in the last 7 weeks to test positive for COVID, forced to withdraw and quarantine. We're going to talk a little bit more about Dustin Johnson coming up, but that was this week. Tony was last week. How about Matthew Wolff's? Did you see that? His final round on Sunday, near perfection. 3 eagles. He missed 8 birdie putts of 16 feet or less. I mean, he could have shot anything. He could have shot 56 if the ball would have gone in the hole a little bit. He had it going on. That was quite a round of golf, Carlos.
Definitely. I'm expecting a lot from Matthew next season. So we'll see. I mean, he's just getting there, getting more comfortable every week. Now let's talk about the Champions Tour, where Ernie Els saved his best for last because surging 8 spots up the leaderboard with a final round of 66, by the way, his best score of the weekend. Ernie came from behind Sunday to win a tightly contested SAS Championship at Prestonwood Country Club. The Big Easy has now the second PGA Tour Champions win to add to a resume that includes 19 PGA Tour victories and 47 international titles. Second place went to Colin Montgomery of Scotland, who was tied for the pole position going to the final round.
Monty's still playing golf? I thought we haven't heard from him for like a year or something.
He's a 57-year-old now, but he's healthier than ever and playing well. I mean, he's even going viral online. But he had won 7 times before in the PGA Tour Champions, 42 times abroad. But he wasn't able to take advantage of the opportunities that he had. So after rising past 12 opponents during Saturday's third round, Vijay Singh secured the third place at 10 under with his 70 of his own, 4 birdies and 2 bogeys. The Fiji native added another top 5 finish to what is already a decorated career That includes 34 PGA Tour wins, 22 international victories, and a FedEx Cup title back in 2008. Although he just missed the podium, Gene Sowers of Georgia went on quite a run Sunday. The 58-year-old finished T4th along with Robert Carlson, Kirk Triplett, David Toms, and Woody Austin. Fred, we know now that Jim Furyk won't win the 100% of his champion tour events because he finished T16, so he's human after all.
Yeah, really funny. Ernie Els, he missed the 2-footer to lose the Pure Insurance at Pebble Beach, a week or two ago, a couple weeks ago. And then he knocks down a 40-footer for birdie to win at the SAS. So it's a funny game, really funny game. Darren Clark was tied for the second round lead with Colin Montgomery and Woody Austin. He kind of fired a 74, fell down, all the way down to T11, but Darren put a couple nice rounds together. Maybe we can see him do something good on the Champions Tour. Ernie actually got a putting tip from Mark O'Meara. He said he saw him on the putting green, and they just started chatting a little bit. And O'Meara used the same putter as Els, and they were talking a little bit about that. And Ernie said, "Hey, here, look at my putter, and talk to me a little bit about this." And he had a couple things to say, gave him a little tip. And that's what Ernie used to win this week. You got a little tip from Marco Miller on putting. So it's amazing sport. The guys help each other out to beat each other. It's an amazing thing. But good thing he birdied the final 2 holes, making that long one, shoots a 68. Good win for Ernie Els. Nice to see some of these guys that have come off the regular tour that as they got a little older, they struggled in their later years, but they're come out and they're competitive on the Champions Tour. Jim Furyk, Ernie Els, some of these other guys. We're gonna talk about Phil in a minute. He's gonna fire it up on the Champions Tour again. So nice to see some of these guys out there, Carlos.
All right, let's talk about the Corn Ferry Tour. I was pulling hard for Brandon Wu to win this one, but it was Trey Mullinax who, despite shooting his worst round of the tournament, 2 under par, held on to win the Orange County National Championship this weekend at Winter Garden, Florida. It is his second victory on tour, with his first coming back in 2016. Brandon Wu and Germany's Stefan Jaeger ended up T2 at 22 under. Wu is just 23 years old, but he carded a 6 under on the strength of 7 birdies and 1 bogey to move up 5 spots up the leaderboard, just one short of what he needed to be. Meanwhile, the 31-year-old Jaeger held the position with a 67. That was 5 birdies and 1 bogey. And the Munich native now owns 5 tour. He owns already 5 Corn Ferry Tour victories. Grayson Sigg of Georgia and Chad Ramey of Mississippi found themselves T4. Fred, the Orange County National Championship was the final event on the Corn Ferry Tour's 2020 schedule, so they're off all the way until next year. But so far, as we know, both because of the pandemic, the 2020 and 2021 seasons are going to be combined. But for now, it was, even with the pandemic, a very interesting Corn Ferry Tour season.
Yeah, Orange County National is where they have the PGA demo day on Tuesday of PGA Golf Show week down in Orlando in January. So that's a gigantic range there. It's a great big circle. So you can go out there and hit balls from every wind direction. Mullinax has actually struggled since he helped Alabama win the NCAA championships in 2014, 6 years ago. Injury, erratic play has been his problems. But lately he's regained top form. This was his 3rd top 10 in his last 5 starts. So maybe he's got some things figured out. Maybe the confidence there, whatever, he's playing good. Your guy, Brandon Wu, he seems to play well every week. 5 top 10s in 9 starts this season. A pretty solid season for Brandon Wu on the Corn Ferry Tour. And you mentioned your guys, Steve Jaeger, also had another solid week. Those 3 guys, along with Riley and the other kid starts with an L. I can't think of his name right now. Just lost it. They need to be out on the PGA Tour. They're quality. They should be out there.
Will Salatoris, what are you saying?
Salatoris. I'm sorry. Yes,
okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Will has been playing lately in the PGA Tour, receiving some sponsor exemptions and all that. So definitely, those guys should be on the tour next year. Hey, Let's talk about now. With that, we wrap up our weekend backspin, and let's talk about what's going to happen this week on the forecall. We're going to start with the PGA Tour that stays in Vegas this week for the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek Tournament. The tournament moved this year from Jeju Island in South Korea to Shadow Creek in Las Vegas because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but it plans to return to South Korea next year. This is the second time this year that the PGA Tour has played in same city consecutive weeks. You might remember they played back-to-back weeks at Murfield Village in Dublin, Ohio in July. Now, Brooks Koepka is playing for the first time since he missed the cut at the Wyndham Championship in August. He feels ready. He withdrew from the PGA Tour postseason and the U.S. Open to heal those injuries to his left knee. He says he's feeling as well as he can feel. But anyway, until he's there on the nitty gritty and going through it, we won't know for sure how he's feeling. The field features 7 of the top 10 players in the world. US Open champion Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, and Webb Simpson are not playing, but now there's 6 only because the big one missing will be the world's number 1, Dustin Johnson, who had to withdraw after testing positive for the coronavirus. It was due to make his first start since the U.S. Open, and he has been replaced now in the field by JT Potsdam. Koepka, Ricky Fowler, Justin Rose, and Jordan Spieth, and this is hard to say. They needed sponsors exemptions to play. Brooks Koepka, Ricky Fowler, Justin Rose, Jordan Spieth. I would have never said this. I mean, if you told me at the beginning of the year that they would need a sponsors exemption to play in a tournament, no way. I would have been like, how much money you want to bet? It's not going to happen. But hey, they did not finish in the top 70 in the FedEx Cup last season, so that's why. Now, if you don't know much about this course, the Shadow Creek is where Phil Mickelson defeated Tiger Woods in their winners take all $9 million match over Thanksgiving weekend in 2018. Neither one of them is playing this week. Maybe they had enough of this course. But anyway, Fred, how about the tournament this week?
Yeah, we don't get to see this course very often, Carlos. It's a Tom Fazio design. When it was built, Steve Wynn of the Wynn Casino built it for just his high rollers and just himself. Nobody else played this golf course for a long time. MGM got a hold of property in 2000, and now the general public can play. They also have some select outings there. Tiger has his big Thunder tournament, whatever that is, that you got to pay how many $1,000s to play in. The green fees there, I think, are north of about $600. I know that fits your budget. I know if you're going up to Vegas, you'd fly up there and you're playing and play a couple rounds there. But that's a little steep for me unless they want to comp me for a media rate or something. But no, it'd be exciting to see Koepka come back this week. How he's going to play. Fowler and Spieth, there's a couple guys that got to get some things figured out, man. They're just hacking it up lately, and they got to get these things turned around. Excited to see Justin Thomas and Jon Rahm on the field. I wouldn't be surprised to see those 2 guys battling out on Sunday, Carlos.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a testament to the strength of the fields or what, but 3 of the last 4 winners of the regular PGA Tour events were ranked outside the top 300. So anybody with that ranking here this week should be feeling well. The only exception was Sergio Garcia, my guy, who won in Mississippi at ranking number 51. So we'll see what happens.
It's going to happen. This is too good of a field. Those guys, they're going to have to settle just for making a nice check this week. No wins for them.
We'll see. Look what Martin Laird did. So anyone can win. But anyway, let's move on to the European Tour, which is set to play the Scottish Championship. This is a new tournament that keeps the European Tour in the UK for the 4th consecutive week. It gives also Scotland 2 tournaments this year after the Downhill Links Championship was canceled this year because of the Pro-Am format over 3 golf courses in 5. Now, it will be played at the Fairmont St. Andrews Club, which was host to the final qualifying for the British Open last year and was to be one of the final local sites this year before the Open was canceled. The Torrance course, that's where they're going to play. It would previously held the Scottish Youth National Championship and the Scottish Senior Open. Lee Westwood, right now at number 41, is the only player from the top 50 in the world to be playing. 6 players in England last week from the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth have come over to America to play in the CJ Cup in Las Vegas. So it leaves to the Scottish people there, the Scottish players, Fred, leading right now in the field are Mark Warren, who won the Australian Open during the restart, and Robert McIntyre as the top local players to be playing this tournament.
Yeah, Eddie Pepperell, Patrick Harrington, Matt Wallace, Sam Horsfield, they're in the field. Aaron Rye, who won just a couple of weeks ago on the European Tour. Robert McIntyre, who is a homeboy there in Scotland. He's a favorite there. And then Westwood's a big name. Other than that, it's pretty slim pickings there as far as anybody you might recognize. Weather is normally an issue in Scotland, especially this time of year. The Fairmount Club sits just south of St. Andrews, a little bit, just outside the city there. The weather looks to be good this week, 50-degree weather, mild winds, no rain. So should be a good week for the lads in Scotland, Carlos.
Definitely. Hey, now let's talk about the Champions Tour. This is typically, at this time, it's typically the start of the postseason for the Charles Schwab Cup on the Champions Tour. Again, because of the pandemic, now the 2020 and 2021 seasons are being combined, just like it's happening on the Corn Ferry Tour. But there's a lot of excitement for this year's edition of the Dominion Energy Charity Classic. That is because one Phil Mickelson is making his second PGA Tour champion start this season. He's perfect. He won his debut in August in Missouri, but this is part of his pre-Masters preparation. Interesting that he didn't play in the CJ Cup, but came here to this tournament. The defending champion Miguel Angel Jimenez returns after adding another 2 titles to his resume this season at the Mitsubishi Electric Championship at Walleye and last month at the Sanford International. Jim Furyk will be here. He has won 2 of 3, so he's a 67% hitter so far in the PGA Tour Champions on the events he has played. The field also includes 3 players who have won majors within the last 10 years. Ernie Els, Phil Mickelson, and Darren Clark, who played very well last weekend. Bobby Watkins received a sponsor's exemption. Fred, he's a Richmond native, so he grew up playing the Country Club of Virginia with his older brother, Lanny Watkins, and this will be the first time playing this tournament for him.
Bobby Watkins, he's got to be, 65 years old or something, doesn't he? I mean, goodness gracious. He's been retired for a long time, even from the Champions Tour. Phil commits to play. What else you need to say? I'm just curious. I'm just curious why he decided to play here and not out in Vegas. I wish I knew the answer. I wish I could ask him. I haven't seen anything about that this week.
I think Fred is more of the course, because Shadow Creek really, if he's trying to get a good prep in, I mean, neither of the 2 courses would resemble Augusta, but if there is one that is not going to be it should be as far away from Augusta, that would be Shadow Creek. So I guess, also the competition is not the same for him. So I think more it would be the course. I thought about it and I started to see, like you, where I couldn't find anything. Why? And that's why I mentioned it. But I think really it's more because this is the timing for him. He had to play this week in order to keep his preparation going. And maybe of the 2 courses, I think this would be the one that would fit him better.
Well, this is probably a little less stress than playing out there with the kids. He's probably playing at 7,000 yards or 6,900 yards instead of 7,400 or something like that. So that's like playing a pitch and putt for him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him blow the field away again. Just curious to me. He decided to come out there because even if he wins, he gets $250,000 or something. He could finish 4th or 5th in Las Vegas and make that much. So, just surprising, but definitely going to try and watch a little bit of it, Carlos, for sure.
Definitely. And with that, we wrap up our forecall or the previews for this weekend's action. And now, Fred, tell us a little bit about Boyne Resorts.
Well, Carlos, the golf season is coming to a close in northern Michigan. There will soon be snow covering the courses, but the leaves are bright colors. Last weekend, oh my goodness, the colors were fantastic last weekend up there. Even though the days are a little shorter, the golf is still great. Give them a call for conditions and course availability because They did have some courses closed for a couple days a week or so ago, but they were all open over the weekend. As long as they got nice weather, the courses will be open. You don't have to go to Boyne just for the golf, though. They've got all kinds of other stuff to do. They got spas, they got hiking, biking, zip line. They got the ride to the top of the mountain. They got great food. Got all the stuff to do in the Petoskey area. They got Lake Michigan. A lot of stuff to do there. It's just a short ride over to Mackinac Island or the Mackinac Bridge. So go to Boyne, BOYNE.com/golf. That's BOYNE, Boyne.com/golf. Check out one of the best resorts in the country. Carlos, tell them Back Nine Report sent you.
All right. And now let's talk about the Par 5 news. Five pieces of news that every week we pick and we talk about them. Let's talk about first the Solheim Cup because it's headed to Spain for the first time in 2023. And that was according to an announcement the Ladies European Tour made. Now, while dates haven't been set yet, the event will be held at the Finca Cortesín in Andalusia, Spain. Spain also hosted the 1997 Ryder Cup, but that was at the Valderrama Golf Club. And now, the 2020 Ryder Cup was pushed back to next year. So the next two Solheim Cup and Ryder Cups will take place in the same year in the same side of the world. The 2021 Solheim Cup, which is next year, will be held at Inverness Club in Toledo, Ohio, next September, 3 weeks ahead of Ryder Cup at the Whistling Straits Golf Course. The 2023 Ryder Cup will be held September 29 to October 1st, just 10 miles outside of Rome. And Spain right now becomes the sixth European country to host the Solheim Cup, joining Scotland, Wales, Sweden, Ireland, and Germany. The Finca Cortesín previously staged three Volvo Match Play Championships and underwent an upgrade of all putting surfaces back in 2017. Now, it'll be interesting to see which Spain female players will take part. As you know, Spain is a very passionate country about its sports. And we have seen it when Spain won the team competition a few years ago. Not the Solheim Cup. But anyway, Spain's Carlota Ciganda, she just recently finished in the top three of the KPMG Women's PGA Championship. She's still playing at a very high level. She has participated in the last four consecutive Solheim Cups. I expect her to be there. Maybe her compatriot Azahara Munoz, who has also four Solheim Cup appearances since 2011, will be there. And they would play amazing if they are able to be there in that team. It's going to be very interesting if they can make it there, Fred.
Yeah, and Spain, if you remember, they won the inaugural international crown in Baltimore. Remember a few years ago, with the players that they put together for that. So they've got some really good players there in Spain. They take their golf seriously, and so it should be great. And Carlos, you mentioned the Solheim Cup here in Toledo in next year, and we're just a year out from that. And I have a heavy heart tonight when you talk about this because they're actually having a small media thing over there tomorrow, and I was invited to play, and I can't be there. I have other commitments that I have to do, so I had to blow off Inverness. So it really hurts me, Carlos. It's awful. I feel my pain.
Yeah, I hope this doesn't disqualify us from being next year there.
Oh, no, we'll be there. Got you covered.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna be there. Count on it. We're gonna be doing our show from Inverness next year. Count on it. Anyway, with that, now let's move on to talk about the next one. The next piece of news is really interesting because it's like David against Goliath or Hulk against who? I don't know. Who would Matthew Fitzpatrick would? I don't know.
Hulk against Spider-Man.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. That would be great because let me just set it up quickly here. Bryson DeChambeau was making his first appearance since the U.S. Open this past weekend in Las Vegas, right? And you mentioned that he went out flying away with a 62, grabbed the first round lead. Seems like he was, kind of blew away the competition. By Friday, he was scarcely less a factor. Uh, but at the BMW PGA Championship, there was somebody leading there. At that time, it was England's Matt Fitzpatrick. And then he remarked the world's number six was making a let me quote, a bit of a mockery of the game. So, but that because of the prodigious distance that Bryson is now commanding. And I'm gonna read to you what he said. He said, "It's not a skill to hit the ball a long way, in my opinion. I could put on 40 pounds. I could go and see a biomechanist, and I could gain 40 yards. That's actually a fact. I could put another 2 inches on my driver. I could gain that. But the skill, in my opinion, is to hit the ball straight. That's the skill. He's just taking the skill out of it, in my opinion. I'm sure lots will disagree. It's just daft." End of quote. Now, this is coming from Matthew Fitzpatrick. If you haven't seen him, he's so slender, he might have to jog around the shower to get wet. But he spots about 85 pounds to Bryson DeChambeau. If you see them together, it's like, I mean, if Matthew would be behind him, it would be like this. You wouldn't see him.
You
Uh,
couldn't see him.
you couldn't see him. Actually, you wouldn't. Uh, is it just envy or not? I mean, Matthew averages right now 295 yards of the tee. That's equally, if you put maybe the difference between them, half a Walmart behind them, basically. Uh, but anyway, I'm gonna leave it right now for there. I know that there was some reply from Bryson, so take it, Fred.
Yeah, Bryson says, well, he said, I actually appreciate it because I would love to have a conversation with him about it and say, hey, man, I would love to help you out. Why couldn't you do it too? You see Rory and DJ doing the same thing. They're seeing the distinct advantage. I feel it's great for the game of golf. I don't think it takes us school. I have to disagree with Matt Fitzpatrick. To swing as hard and hit it as far as Bryson DeChambeau is doing and keep it on the planet, let alone on the golf course, is that takes great skill, hand-eye coordination, and some pretty good swing mechanics to do that. Because if you're off a degree at the swing speed that he's going right now, we're talking 30 yards off at the other end, one way or another, right? So it takes a little bit of skill and some good mechanics to do that. I went back to try to look at some numbers to see how these guys compare a little bit. And you're right, Carlos. There's about 85-pound difference. Plus, Bryson is 6'1", and Matt is, I think, about 5'10". So, Fitzpatrick only weighs about 155 pounds, something like that. So it's amazing that he does. I mean, he averages 295. That's no slouch right there, right? He ranked 121st on tour last season in yards off the tee. So. That's not one of the longest, but it's long enough. Instead of hitting a wedge, he's maybe hitting a 9-iron. Okay. So a little difference there, but not a lot. Matthew only hit 50% of his fairways last year. That's for a guy that's 121st in distance. He needs to have a few more fairways. He should be up in the 60s, up around 60%. But his putting was outstanding. Matter of fact, he ended up second on tour in strokes gained putting. That's pretty good. So he makes it up when he gets on the green. He won $2 million last year. Finished the season at 36 in FedEx Cup, number 17 in the world ranking. That's pretty good. No, he's not hitting at 340 like Bryson hits it, but he hits it long enough, and he's hitting 9-irons or 8-irons when Bryson's hitting sand wedges or pitching wedges, but still he's a really good putter. So now Bryson, he's currently number one in the FedEx Cup, and he's 322 is his average distance. He's 140th in driving accuracy, 55th in greens and regulation, and 10th in strokes gained putting. So he's not very accurate. He's a little bit below Fitzpatrick in accuracy. So he's hitting it much farther but he's not that much difference than Fitzpatrick in accuracy. So Fitzpatrick's got to up, if he's going to compete in the same league with a Bryson DeChambeau, he's got to find more fairways. So anyhow, I just was curious. I looked at these numbers, and so Matt Fitzpatrick, I think it's a little bit of envy there that he's saying that. He wishes maybe he was a couple inches taller and maybe about 40 pounds heavier. Maybe he could generate some more club head speed and get out there into the 310s or something like that. But he's still a very good player, and he's a very good all-around player. And Carlos, I like consistency. I like to see the guys that are top 25, making top 10s several times a year. And Matt Fitzpatrick can do that. And if he can find a few more fairways, he's a good enough player all the way around that he can compete with a guy like Bryson DeChambeau. DeChambeau is going to have weeks where he just can't get it out of the rough or get it on the green in the right place, and his putter's not working. So he's not going to win every week, but the distance helps him. But a guy like Matt Fitzpatrick, I would take him because he's got the all-around game to compete.
You know, my take on this is everyone that listens to the show or have seen me talk about Bryson prior to his US Open win, know that I was criticizing him for what he was doing. To me, but when you see him, he was a good player, also an iron player. He's a pretty good, decent all-around player. Maybe not as much rounded as Matthew Fitzpatrick, but even with the added strength that he's had, he's still playing pretty good, accurate golf. You know, it hasn't taken away from his skills, like Matthew is saying. But I defend Matthew in this sense because it's my own take is as well that you don't need to go all that extreme because not everybody can do it. That's the thing. To be able to do that and then dominate or do whatever Bryson is intending to do, he's taking away, and that's what I think Matthew should have said, is taking away from the way that most golfers will try to do it. That Rory McIlroy, still, I don't think that he's trying to gain so much weight. He's trying to hit it far. He's not trying to gain that much weight. Neither is Dustin Johnson. He's talking about the long game. And for Matthew, I think what he's saying is, look, he's saying Bryson is trying to get awareness on everybody. Hey, what you have to do is just get as big as me, and then you're going to be hitting it that way, and forgetting about the all-around skills that are needed as well. So that's what I think Matthew is intending to say, is not as much as trying to say, hey, he's just taking away from the skills game. It's just the way that he's trying to do it. That's just the way it is. It's not everybody can gain that weight and be that way. And if somebody tries to do it, it will really take away from the athleticism that somebody would do. And that's just physics. That's not, that's what he's saying, that is a fact. You're not going to be as elastic or as flexible as you're going to be with all that muscle. But anyway, any final words on it before we go to President George W. Bush?
No, it's just still amazing what DeChambeau did in a relatively short period of time. To do what he did in a 6-month period, that is phenomenal. I still have questions about longevity, what that extra weight is going to do to his legs and his knees, and
his back.
Yeah, and then the violent swing, what it's going to do to his shoulders and his back. So we'll see. I don't know if this can be a long-term thing. I think the stress on the body is going to eventually get him, but we'll see. I mean, it got to Tiger. I mean, that's what happened to Tiger. The violent swing, it messed up his knee. It's also been a problem with the back. So we'll see. But the body's not made to do that, Carlos.
Definitely. And that's where the jury still out. Hey, let's talk about President George W. Bush because, he succeeded his father as honorary chair of the first tee back in 2012, and now has been named recipient of the Ambassador of Golf Award to be presented during the 2021 Bridgestone Seniors Player Championship, that per as an announcement from the PGA Tour last Tuesday. One of the five majors on the PGA Tour Champions, the Bridgestone Seniors Player, is scheduled to be played next June 24th to the 27th at the Firestone Country Club, where you were, and that is presented by the First Energy Foundation. This award recognizes a person who has fostered the ideals of the game on an international level and whose concern for others extend beyond the golf course. Uh, George W. Bush, is the third U.S. president selected after Gerald Ford in 1985 and his father, George H.W. Bush, in 1994. But the two are the first father duo son to be chosen in the award's 39-year history. An ambassador was not named this year because of the COVID 19's impact on the tournament events and attendance. But Fred, George W. Bush has been uh, definitely embodies what this award says. He has been caring about with his foundations. It shows how he cares about somebody else, and that's part of it. And now how he does on golf has been integral to his life. I mean, in 2005, he served as honorary chairman of the President's Cup at the Robert Trent Jones Golf Club in near Washington, D.C. He attended the matches in 2005, 2013, 2015, 2017. And his family's involvement in the game dates back to his great grandfather, George H. Walker, which is the namesake for the Walker Cup, who served as the president of the USGA in 1920. Then his grandfather, and his father, all of them have a long lineage of being uh, associated with golf. So Fred, to me, definitely somebody very deserving of this award.
Yeah, I tend to agree. The Bushes have been involved in golf since way back at the beginning. And this is just kind of a continuation. And more or less in his retirement, GW has been involved with the first tee. He's been involved with the Warrior Open and been involved with a lot of this stuff. Especially, he is very fond of the Folds of Honor and the Wounded Warriors Project and all these things. He takes great pride in working with that stuff, and his foundation does a really good job being involved with those programs as well. So, yeah, I think it's very fitting. It makes a great addition to the ambassadors of golf that Firestone puts out pretty much every year. So, really, and I was talking when I was over there. I was talking to the general manager a little bit, and he was talking about Jim Nance, who was named the ambassador of golf a couple years ago. And he said, Nance really takes great pride in it. He comes in there a couple times a year and plays and just loves being there at Firestone and enjoys, being around the place and being involved with Firestone and being part of the ambassador of golf program. So it means a lot to these guys. And G.W. Bush, I think, is another good choice, Carlos.
Definitely. I mean, it shows, uh, it recognizes what they're doing not only for the game but also for others, and that's definitely a trademark of GW. So congratulations to him. Some sad news, Fred. A Massachusetts club pro was killed by a falling tree. All these while he was trying to make sure that everyone was off the course. Tell us a little bit about this story.
Yeah, this is kind of sad, really. Tom Sullivan had been the head pro at Win Tanuk Country Club in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, for like 29 years. He was 71 years old, and he had told his brother he planned to retire on November 1st. So just a few weeks before he was planning to retire, he had this unfortunate accident. There was a big storm coming up. They sounded the horn. He went out on the course, took a cart, was making sure that everyone got off the golf course and nobody was still hanging around. And he was on a service road. And as he was driving by, the wind knocked a big limb down and fell right on him and killed him. He grew up on a golf club as a kid, and just loved the game and always played. And he was an all-around athlete as a young man. And so very well loved at the club. There 29 years, you got to be doing something right at a country club to hang in there for 29 years. Really sad thing, and our condolences to his family.
Most definitely agree with that. It's a sad story, but hey, those are the things that happen. At least, it shows the heart of the guy. He was thinking about somebody else before him. He was just trying to make sure everybody was off the course as the horn sounded. And unfortunately, he was the one to pay the price. So our condolences to go to his family. Hey Fred, not long ago, I talked about my favorite amateur player, Takumi Kanaya, winning the McCormick Medal. Now it's time to announce who won it on the ladies' side, and it was Rose Zhang, a 17-year-old amateur. She finished 11th in last month's A&A Inspiration. Hey, that's an LPGA major. That's pretty good. That performance, coupled with her recent victory in the U.S. Women's Amateur Plus the AGA Rolex Girls Junior Championship, bumped her to the top spot of the World Amateur Golf Rankings. Now, her finish at the ANA Inspiration Tournament also left her as the low amateur. Her low score of 280 was the lowest 72-hole score ever posted by an amateur, lower than the previous best of 281 by Caroline Kagi in 1988 and Michelle Wee in 2004. Fred Chang is a senior in high school and has committed to continue her academic and athletic career at Stanford. So, very promising career in golf for her. Can't wait to see what the future brings for her.
Yeah, this is someone we're going to have to keep on our radar, isn't it? She's had a heck of a, really, the last 2 years, she's really played quite well. Uh, Kudos for her for going to Stanford. Go get some education. You never know when your golf days are over. Now's a great time to get that Stanford degree, and couldn't go to a much better place in the United States than that. Well, anywhere in the world, actually, one of the top colleges in the world. So, yeah, just being 11th at a major as a, 19-year-old or whatever she is.
17 years old.
17, yeah. That's phenomenal stuff. It seems like every year we have one of these stories, going back to Lydia Ko starting when she was 14 and 15 and doing all the things she did. And we've had some others along the way. Alexa, we're watching her. So yeah, these young girls, they get started and they get this teaching. I was giving a lesson to a lady today, and I said, if you want to really watch and learn, watch the LPGA, because when they're young girls, they are taught the basics. And Carlos, I don't mean to be sexist here. I'm not trying to be. I'm just telling you the fact that women will listen to you. When I'm giving lessons to women, they will listen to you and do what you try to tell them to do. They will try and do it the right way. Men, they always got, I want to tinker around. They want to do it their way. I got the better idea. They always think they know a little bit better, right? But when these LPGA girls are young and they're getting the teaching, they're listening and they're doing it correctly, and they do it the same way every time. And so I just it's amazing that these young girls come up and do the things they do. But Rose Zhang is definitely somebody we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Most definitely. And with that, we wrap up our Power 5 news. And now we move to the VIG, the very important guest of the week. This week, we have an interview with Dave Short, who's the Senior Vice President for Marketing, Sales, and Strategic Planning for Reynolds Lake Oconee. And he talked to Fred about the upcoming Drive On Championship, which is the LPGA Tour event on the Great Waters course. Fred, tell us a little bit about this Zoom call you had with Dave.
We were down to, I've been to Reynolds several times, but we were down there just 1 year ago, actually, in October last year, for the reopening of the Great Waters course. Jack Nicklaus built that golf course, I think, in 1995 or 1994, something like that. And he went in and did an 18-month renovation in 2018 and 2019. And it just reopened last October. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And so Michael Wan, when he's not traveling around the world on the LPGA Tour or down in Jacksonville, he has a place at Reynolds. And so they were sitting around, and they said, when they had to cancel the Asian Tour events, they said, well, what if we had a tournament here? And all of a sudden, they got with the membership, they did this, they did that, boom, we got a tournament at Reynolds Lake Oconee. So kudos to everybody for getting that thing done, and we talk about it here in this tape, Carlos.
We're happy to have Dave Short, who is the Senior Vice President for Marketing, Sales, and Strategic Planning for Reynolds Lake Oconee, to back and report. Dave, welcome in.
Hey, Fred, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I wish I was down at Reynolds Lake Oconee playing a little golf.
Oh, all things in time. We'll have you and Pat back before you know it.
That sounds really good. Hey, Dave, we want to thank you for coming on. Our listeners are going to be able to see one of the finest golf courses in the country when the Great Waters course at Reynolds Lake Oconee is going to host the best women golfers in the world for the LPGA's Drive-On Championship at Reynolds Lake Oconee, October 22nd through 25th. How did this event come about? It's kind of a fill-in event. Couldn't have some of the ones over in Asia, so the LPGA got with you guys, and you're having them in.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited, Fred. You know, Mike Wan, who's the commissioner, has a home here at Reynolds, and whenever he's not working or traveling the road, you know, he's here at Reynolds playing golf and enjoying the company of our other 4,000 members. So when they had to cancel the Asia swing, we started talking to Mike probably 4 or 5 weeks ago and said, hey, gee, what if? You know, what if? And so we did some quick mechanics and found out we had the space, knew we had the golf campus, but really needed to have space for, you know, all the players and safely, you know, working their way through where they're going to stay. And just a weird time, but for us and for Mike and for the LPGA, really an opportunistic and a huge win. And the field is shaping up great right now. I got to look at it yesterday, and just an extraordinary field. And we'll have a full 4-day event over at Great Waters. And as you know, which we just reopened last year after complete restoration that Mr. Nicholas and his team did, which was just a wonderful afternoon, you know, having him back and all the work that's been done. He's tickled that they're going to kind of christen the course after just opening again. And we couldn't be happier. We're just delighted. It's a short fuse, but we can handle that. And so we're really tickled to have them.
Yeah, you guys are pretty much ready. You're in tournament condition pretty much every day. Couple of things. First, you mentioned your 4,000 members. Now, you got 5 or 6 courses there, but still, it puts a little demand on your members. They got to give up their course for about 10 days when the tour comes in like that. So no problems with all of that.
No, in fact, and it didn't take us 48 hours before we had almost 100 members sign up to volunteer. You know, we've got a really rich history of putting on big events like this. As you know, we had the Anderson Consulting Championships here many years ago. We had the big break here. We have the Linger Longer Invitational where, you know, Ricky Fowler has played and won it, Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas. That's a huge collegiate event. We got a 5-year history with the AJGA and doing one of their big events here. And our members, they step right up, and they never fail to do that. And they stepped up here immediately on this one. You know, we've got 6.5 golf courses here for the members to play. This is a minor interruption in one course for 1 week, and I haven't heard a peep out of anybody other than how excited they are to have the girls come and play here.
The Great Waters course, as you mentioned, was completely restored, about an 18-month restoration there by Jack Nicklaus, who originally designed the golf course. It's recognized as one of the really great golf courses in the country. And this really gives you a great opportunity to kind of showcase that to the nation with having the LPGA there.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, the course has a long history. You know, it's 27 years old and is brand new again as of this past year when we completed the renovation. But just an extraordinary course. As you know, 8 of the holes in the back 9 run right along the lakefront. Not many developers would ever see that kind of ground, you know, to a golf course these days. And long ago, that decision was made, and it's just spectacular. And a few holes in the front, not on the lakefront too. So we're delighted to show it off. We'll have great aerial coverage, you know, for the whole event, and we're just tickled. And perfect time of year. I mean, you know, we're of course the Masters is right up the road from us here in a few more weeks too, and it couldn't be more beautiful right now. Leaves are starting to give you a little color, catch a little whiff of the wood smoke riding on the breeze early in the year, and it just we're excited.
Dave, we would be remiss if we're talking about Reynolds Lake Oconee. Golf is really just one of the pieces there. You have a tremendous all-inclusive lifestyle there, from all the water activities to shooting to spas. You got a Ritz-Carlton on property. You got dining that's out of this world. You pretty much got it all going on there.
Yeah, we do. I appreciate you bringing that up. You know, I'm actually standing in the Sandy Creek barn right now, which is a barn we had purchased about 10 years ago, built in 1820, and we've had Amy Grant and Hall & Oates and Collective Soul, and we've had all kinds of musical events here in the amphitheater out by the waterfront. The Ritz-Carlton, of course, there's only 97 of those in the whole world, and to have one of them right in the center of your club, that's a nice badge of honor, as well as a pretty nice little social nucleus for everybody. So 10 restaurants, 4 marinas, but mainly I think, you know, the golf has been the backbone amenity for many years, but in the last few years, we've seen a lot more people moving here at a much younger age and bringing their families with them, and home offices now being set up, and people that maybe wouldn't have made the move for 5 or 6 more years have made it in the last several months. And we've got over 1,600 kids under the age of 23 that are attached to our 4,000 members. So the vibrancy and the cadence of living here in the last several years has gotten a lot more active, I would say, because of a few tweaks to the membership to broaden out who can use that, you know, kids, grandkids, grandparents. And it's really brought a lot of activity to us. Music and food. And that's been a big part of the last, well, you know, I mean, you've been here. So, but yeah, we'll still do 135,000 rounds of golf this year, but there's a heck of a lot going on beyond the boundaries of the golf course, much more so than we ever saw 10 years ago.
Just for maybe some of the viewers that don't know, Reynolds Lake Oconee sits right between Augusta, Georgia, and Atlanta, right off of I-20. It's very easy to get to. You can fly into Atlanta, be out there at the property within probably about an hour. Then you just kick back, and as soon as you pull in the gates there, that vibe hits you, and all the tension goes. It's just a great place to be. And one more thing I want to touch base on. You know, we talked about you've got residents there. You've got lots available. You got houses available. You got a whole real estate section going on there, right? And one other thing you mentioned to me last October, you got a bunch of coastline that's undeveloped that you're in planning right now. What you're going to do with that?
Yeah, the lake has 4 times the shoreline as Georgia's Atlantic coastline. So we've got about 400 miles. And the point about Atlanta is a really important one. You know, since March 1st of this year, we've had 400 purchases of real estate, 400 new members from 24 different states, which to me is the really interesting part about that. And a large part of that is because the Hartsfield Airport, which sits on the southeast side of Atlanta, which makes it easy for us, that's really one flight from anywhere in the world. And so for people that are moving here that don't want to be completely out of reach, I mean, their kids can get here, or they can get to their kids in one flight. That's a big deal, you know, and that really helps us. To your point, we have 26 miles of undeveloped shoreline that the good folks at MetLife and Daniel are letting us go out and envision what's the next big thing. We've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. And as you said, you know, having the hotel in the center, as our members say, you know, we're 40 minutes from a Walmart, but we're only 5 minutes from a Ritz-Carlton. And I wish I could claim that in the marketing department, but that really came from our members, and that's out of the mouths of the members.
I want to mention one more thing too. These COVID times, it's been a trying year for sure. But here from like Ohio or Michigan, it's pretty easy drive down there. We don't have to jump in a plane. We can drive down there. I think from Toledo, I think I can be at your front door in about 10 and a half hours. You know, from Michigan, it's maybe just a little bit longer. From Southern Ohio, you can take 3 hours off of that. So, you know, from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, it's a pretty easy drive. And if you're looking to get away someplace, you should be considering Reynolds Lake Oconee for sure.
Yeah, and most of those places you mentioned, you know, from there to here is downhill all the way, you know, so that makes it even quicker. And we got people from everywhere, which is great. It creates diversity in the lifestyle here, and it's just a pretty cool place. And so I hope you guys can plan another trip and come back soon.
We're going to do that, David. One more thing, we just want to remind everybody that it's a drive-on, the LPGA Drive-On Championship, October 22nd through the 25th at the Great Waters Course at Reynolds Lake Oconee. Anything else you want to leave our viewers with, David?
No, just tune in, watch it. You know, we're going to have you're going to see a spectacular golf course, and we're going to make sure that we turn the plane in a couple of different directions so that you can see some of the other features and they're just the beauty of the lake and the beauty of the community, and we're excited about it. We're always proud to show it off.
Thanks a lot, David. Really appreciate it.
Brett,
You're on mute, Carlos.
There you have it. That was the interview with Dave Shorts. Uh, I mean, pretty. He sold me. I'm gonna go get something there in Georgia. You're gonna have to give me his phone number. I'm gonna have to contact him.
We can get you in there. Just let me know when you want to go. It's I'll tell you what. It's well, 6.5 golf courses. One place has 3 9s. One piece of it, and all the golf there is fantastic. And we didn't even mention there's a TaylorMade. The TaylorMade building is there. They can do all the fitting and training and teaching and all that stuff there. It's one of only like 4 in the world that's there. It's an amazing place, Carlos.
Most definitely. And with that, we wrap up our VIG, very important guest of the week, Dave Short, Senior Vice President for Marketing, Sales, and Strategic Planning for Reynolds Lake Oconee. Now, Fred, it's time for the practice range. Every week, you and I pick a topic, and each one of us take our own shots at it. This week, we're going to talk again because it's important for everybody to know about the sports TV ratings. I mean, they are off the charts. They are incredibly out of the charts right now on a negative way. So that's why we're going to talk about it, because nearly every week for golf telecasts, any sports, I mean, you name it, college football, NFL, NBA, MLB, they have slipped. But what is it? I mean, what is it? Is it that people are watching, are tired of it? Because if you ask me, in the COVID-19 pandemic era, right? If there would be something that people would like to be doing is watching sports. And since you can not go to most places because there are places that you cannot just go to any stadium, and then the ones that you can go, you're limited to either a quarter or a half of the people. So even when you have them open for the public, not everyone is going. So if there would be a way for you to watch it, would be on TV. So I don't know. There's supposed to be more people available to watch TV, sports in general. Okay, what's happening, Fred? What do you think is the lack of interest? What is it? What is it happening right now?
You know, we saw tremendous numbers for golf through the summer when golf was really the only thing back. We saw really good numbers, and the numbers for the U.S. Open were down a little bit, but that's because football was coming back and some of the other things by that time. But I'm really surprised at some of these other things. But I really, bottom line, let's just talk about some of the numbers here real quick. So the Kentucky Derby was down 43%. 43%. Indy 500 down 32%. Through the first 4 weeks of NFL, down 10%. That's unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. The NHL playoffs were down 39%. The NBA finals down 45%. I mean, those numbers are just staggering, Carlos. That really got my attention when I was looking at this stuff. So a couple of things here, just real quick. I really think the 2 months there in March and April of no sports on TV, people were forced to get outside. They were forced to find other things to do. And they realized, oh, wow, there's a whole world out there. I don't have to sit here on my couch and watch somebody else bat a ball around or catch it or throw it or whatever. I can go out and ride a bike. I can go out and go for a walk. I can go out and play soccer with my kids. I can go out and play catch with my kids. We can shoot hoops in the backyard. They found out there were other things they could be doing, and they kind of liked it. So I really think that a large part of this number is people that are becoming more active and doing more sports-oriented activities themselves and not counting on just laying on the couch and watching on TV. The second part of that is that so many people are working from home now that there's no real delineation. It's not like you're at work for 40 hours and you come home and you just want to relax. You just don't want to be bothered by anybody. You're at home, you do your work, you get it done, and then you're ready to go. And so you go outside or you take a ride or you do whatever. So you're not dependent on that TV to entertain you. You're still looking for things to do. So to me, Carlos, those are the two issues. Maybe you got a different take on it, but I think this may have changed the dynamic going forward. I'm not sure some of these numbers are going to come back real soon.
Well, you got to also see that a lot of people, uh, we used to engage. Sport is a way to connect people, especially the casual viewing fans. Hey, let's watch the game this week at home. Because if I'm watching my 49ers, I cannot go to San Francisco to watch them or anywhere to go. So I have to be here at home watching them. But also I'm out of market, so I cannot see them right away. So I can go and try to see somebody that has the way to see it, maybe DirecTV, NFL ticket, or whatever it is. Uh, to try to watch it. You try to, like the Super Bowl, and I'm not talking about the Super Bowl being part of this, but you have those watch parties. That's where people start to talk about them, and that's where you engage more and more. So the casual fans that likely would come and see that and engage with you to see it, they're not getting that there. Like you're mentioning right now, sports is also a way for people, now that you're working from home, you have less stress. The people that are working from home, there's still people that are going back to their offices, but right now there's less stress. And if I want to watch sports or something like this, okay, I'm gonna tune out. I don't want to know anything about what happened this past week during the at work. I'm just gonna watch the Kentucky Derby right now. I don't want to know anything about it, and that's what I did. I tuned out everybody. I said, everybody leave home. This is my watching. Nobody else is gonna be here. But there's no stress for a lot of people anymore. So uh, that could be it. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of other things that people have found out that they can do because, hey, I can go out and do this and do that. And there's other ways to watch sports now. You can watch it on your phone. You can watch it in different places. Your computer. You can just keep track of it. You don't have to watch it. But like, for example, sometimes I've been and not only me, but I have been talking to somebody and I'm in a meeting and I'm just watching the leaderboard. Right now, you can go to the PGA Tour or LPGA and they can give you up to the minute standings and the shots that were happening. You don't have to be seeing it to just keep track of what's going on. So, there's a lot of factors, I think, but the pandemic definitely has changed the way that people are engaging, not only sports, I would say TV in general. Because even me, I'm not watching as much TV as I used to. I'm finding other things that I have to do or can do as well. So I think because we cover the sports and especially golf, we notice that more in golf. But to me, it's more of a general less watch TV right now. And also, there is this talking about watching TV in particular. You can watch after. There's not so much about watching it live. You can just record it and watch it afterwards. There's a lot of people now, especially millennials, they don't have the time to be stuck in front of the TV for hours trying to watch something. Hey, I'll just, like they're serious, I'll binge them. I'll watch 10 chapters in one day and no worries about that. So there's not the same thing about watching it at the same time. And also and I'm going to turn it over to you right now, but also like what happened in the NBA during the bubble is different. A lot of people tuned out, maybe because the product wasn't there as well. In the NHL, the two teams that were there were not the ones that people were expecting either. Um, two not so big markets, Tampa Bay and Dallas here. They're not that big of a market, or at least everybody was expecting Las Vegas and other teams. So it's a lot of things. I would say I can't pinpoint to one of them, but definitely we'll have to see what happens once the pandemic is out and things return to somehow of a normal, because we don't know what new normal will be. But definitely there's going to be a change on how people are watching sports moving forward.
Carlos, I got a couple questions for you. Number one, since there were no sports for a couple months there, um, do you think that maybe, and it's been such a goofy, 60 game Major League Baseball season, and the NBA basketball season was split up into two pieces, and then they were in a bubble and there was no traveling around. It was all just in one place. Do you think that sports fans have become a little bit apathetic about watching sports on TV? And number two, do you think if you're a TV executive looking 5 and 8 and 10 years down the road, are you going to put as much money into sports as you have before? Or do you think that's going to change? Do you think these numbers are going to come back?
I don't think they'll come back. And, when everything went in hiatus this spring, it was like whenever the games did return, people watched them until their eyes fell out of their heads. That's how it was. They were anxious to see something happening. You would even see the commercials on TV. We miss you, the sports. When you return, we'll be there for you, and all that stuff. So people were just hungry to see it. And let's take for a fact what, I don't know if you saw it, but ESPN's miniseries The Last Dance. It was the highest rated documentary on the channel ever.
Yeah.
By far. But it shows you how the fans were parched there, and the massive rating success of the first sports comeback. I mean, NASCAR, golf, even the NWSL was incredible for an industry that was reeling from those catastrophic financial effects of the pandemics. Those huge audiences were thought to be, oh gosh, we got it. It's going to be incredible. But people just came back to reality. Okay, they got back to life. They're still the same thing. So all the leagues had to do now was, let's see how we can stage some games, think about how to finish it. But the sports famished America was not glued to the televisions anyway. They just tune out. And I don't think it'll be the same because people have, even the way that you shop now is different. You just go now and do curbside, or just pick up, or just call somebody to come here and bring it to you. Life is not the same anymore, and so it won't be also. Unfortunately for the TVs channels, it won't be the same way either.
I agree with you 100%, Carlos. We've seen a tremendous change. This has forced a change in a lot of things. Just like sales calls, my wife and I do so much more on Zoom today. And I heard her talking to someone today. She said, I would jump in the car and drive to Cleveland or drive to Columbus to meet someone face to face. And then the sale didn't happen. And I had to be mad all the way home. And I'd spent money to go and do all this and wasted my day. Now I go and do a 20-minute or half an hour Zoom call. If they buy, great. If they don't buy, great. It doesn't cost me anything. I can go to my refrigerator and get a piece of chocolate, and I'm fine. Life has changed completely, and TV sports is just one aspect of that that's probably going to be changed forever.
Most definitely. And our whole lifestyle has been changed forever, but still the jury's still out. But I think it's just not going to be the same TV ratings. I think we have been talking for the past few years, 2 to 3 years, the change, the cable cutters, everything that is going on, because the TV networks have to reinvent themselves and see how now the younger audiences are watching. It's not that much of an intensity to watch it live, but they can watch it afterwards. So, and hey, you're mobile. You have to get your phone ready. You have to have your tablet or your computer. You have to be available anywhere. So that's the way. That's why I think that you see the PGA Tour, the LPGA, everybody thinking about, let me do my own channel, because that's the way that I'm going to be able to make money. Because eventually in the future, those TV contracts are not going to be the big thing that they are right now. But anyway, Fred, with that, let's wrap up our practice range and we'll keep talking about the TV ratings. That's something that's not going away anytime soon. But now let's close with our final putt. So, Fred, I heard that the USGA is going to Alaska. Tell us a little bit about that. Oh, is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? What's going there?
The 2022 U.S. Senior Women's Open is going to be held in Anchorage, Alaska. That is the first time ever that Alaska has hosted a major golf tournament like that. So I thought that was kind of unique. I thought it was kind of fun. So get to see that. I know I follow a lady pro on Facebook, Peggy Gustafson, who teaches down in Arizona in the winter, but she goes to Alaska in the summertime and teaches golf up there. And so she always puts some great pictures on of some of the courses up there and playing golf up there. I'm always kind of curious about that. I really don't have any real desire to go to Alaska, but I find that you don't think of Alaska being a big golf state. So
The last frontier.
yeah, exactly. Going up there to play a golf tournament, it should be great. It'd be fun to watch that. So yeah. Carlos, just today also the NCAA announced that it would grant all 2020-21 scholar athletes, winter scholar athletes, another year of eligibility because of COVID-19. So what a deal. Kids get to stay in school another year for free. I had to pay for my extra year, Carlos. I didn't get it for free. So what a great deal. They get to play sports and hang out in college for another year.
Hey, Back Niners, that wraps up another week of the Back Nine Report. Thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest from the world of golf. Special thanks to our VIG, very important guest of the week, Dave Short, the Senior Vice President for Marketing, Sales, and Strategic Planning for Reynolds Lake Oconee. Don't forget to see us again next week on YouTube, or if you miss it, check it out, the audio version on TuneIn. If you haven't done so, it's time right now that you go out there, follow the show on Twitter. Our ID is at Back9 Report with the number 9 in the middle. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Altvater. We wish you to be happy, be blessed, and enjoy the great game of golf. Happy golfing, everybody.
October issue of Ohio Golf Journal came out today. Look for it in your email. We'll see you on the Back Nine.